Okay, recording is on. So any questions before we start? I know there is one outstanding question, versus processes, but any other question? There are no questions, then let's get started. Basically, what is a function and what is a process? One of looking at function is, you look at function as an individual building block, and then you look at the process as a series of activities that this uses these individual building blocks. And the example that I can give you is incident management process. Incident management process is a process that we'll cover in detail when we'll talk about service operations. Really, if anything happens with your service, to bring in the incident management process. That process is kicked off, and you try to figure out what is happening, and then you log the incident, and the service desk will, take first cut at trying to solve that incident. If you're able to solve it, that's good. If not, what they'll do is they will escalate it to in-level support, or it's called by different names to the L1, L2, or the names are used, but basically that what they're doing is giving it to someone who knows it better than them. So that is an escalation that is happening to either to an application team or a database team or a server team or a network team or a middle team, API team, so on and so forth, right? But the team in itself is called a function. So that is a team. That team has a role to play in incident management process. So if you look at the process can touch upon various teams. It might not only be application development team that is taking part in this incident resolution. It might be application and database. It could be more than two teams, right? So the functions basically are part of the processes, the individual building blocks, but the process will go from one function to another function, right? Here. This means golden. I will assume this is clear.
It's clear, thank you.
Okay. Does everybody remember where we were last time? Which one was the module that we covered last time? You only need to pick up space then. Or are you ready?
No, we both on module 3.
I think to be module 4 because the functions are in module 4.
Yeah, cover RACI also. Yeah.
4. See? So I need to catch up. Don't test my memory, please. To module now.
Because last week you forgot to record.
Yes, I am. I did press the recording button. Let's double check again. The recording is going on fine.
Yeah.
No, sorry, last time I forgot to press that button. Here. I need to go to a different browser.
Good evening. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? Module 5. going to start service strategy. Cool. Okay. So before we go into strategy, we need to understand a couple of terms, which is resources, capabilities, and service assets. So what is a resource? Resource is something basically that gives you some kind of an advantage over your competitor. It could be your, financial asset. If you have a lot of money sitting in your bank, that could be a resource. If you have a, better technology than your competitor, it could be a resource. Your physical presence in the location, have a locational advantage, that could be a resource. Or, if you have the right kind of a people, the right kind of a knowledge, the right kind of a skill set, that could also be the resource. And then capabilities are the soft part of the organization. It's a process that you have, it's a work maps that you have, it's a knowledge base that you have, it's any kind of a patent that you have, or customer loyalty that you command into the market. So all these things are abilities. Come together, what you get is a service asset. The goal of the service strategy is basically to deploy service assets in such a way that we can generate the maximum return on investment for organization. So what I'm saying over here is that you look at what kind of a technology do you have, you look at what kind of a people do you have, you look at how much money you have sitting in a bank, and look at what is my reputation in the market, what is it I'm for, and what you will do is that you're not offering the services based on those combination of those criteria. You're that okay, maybe if I can take some money from the bank and invest in this technology, and I can open a new data center as an example. There is a data center in this part of the country, and if I open a data center over here, that will make more sense. So that's how you're elevating your market, and you're deploying your services. What's the strategy? There is a long definition of strategy over here, but my definition of a strategy is very simple. It is, what's your plan to win the game? Win the game or reach a goal, whatever you want to call it. So what's your basic plan? What are you, game plan that you have, right? So that's a strategy. It could be, we are going to compete in a certain market only. Those markets could be either in terms of the service offerings, or in terms of your geographical location only. That company has been very, very disciplined in the services that they are offering. As they started, they have been offering only one kind of a services, which is a database services. As companies like Microsoft has expanded into many different areas. Microsoft started with an operating system and then came up with a product, Microsoft Office, and they built so many other products, SharePoint, MySQL, and so many more. It became a multi-product company. And they have, acquired LinkedIn as well. So, they are expanding in many different directions. If I remember it correctly, I think they made some investments in Nokia as well. They bought Nokia, if I remember it correctly, division, something like that. It happened a couple of years ago. So that's their plan to win in the market. That's their game plan. But you have to think about, what kind of resources do you have? Where do you want to go? So that strategy is all about. And you have to, when thinking about strategy, there are some fundamental questions that you have to think about. One is, what is our business? What kind of a business we are in? Who is our customer, right? And what is the customer value? What we must do exceptionally well? What is the SWOT? Strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. What courses do we have? How does the market look like? Sure. The services that we should or shouldn't offer. So starting with, what is our business? You have a very clear idea of what I am in, right? If I keep on coming back to the Humber College, and one business which is post education for Canadian and international students, and who is customer exactly? The people who are looking for post education, and this is not based upon any kind of an age profile, because the people are younger and some of the people are a little older than these younger folks. So their customers by the age profile, they are defining their customers based upon need. And the need is that I'm looking for a post-secondary education in the GTA area so that I can get a job, right? And what's the customer value? In our case, it would be quality education. That is what the customer values, right? And what we must do exceptionally well to be leader in the market. So first of all, very basic, no trainer is deliver a very good quality education. But all of that, you need to have your support services working as well. Support services like career counseling, your library, your workshops, your industry visits, your actions with the industry experts, gym, swimming pool, those kinds of things basically add to the whole learning experience that your people are having, right? So this what are our strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats? Some of you might know, and this might be new for some of you. Strengths are basically internal to the organization, and opportunities and threats are external to the organization. So strengths could be that we have a great faculty, we have a good brand name. The weaknesses, I won't say weaknesses, I term it as a limitation, and the limitation I would say would be that we are located only in GTA. We have a physical presence in Canada. So that is the one big limitation that we are dealing with right now. What is in the market? What are the opportunities in the market? In the market, we know a lot of international students are coming all Canada, so we can open up branches. We tie up with other, like the way we have tied up with the University of Gulf. So we came up with a new institute called University of Gulf Humber. So we do those kinds of things, right? We can have a campus on the western side of Canada now. Right? So those are the opportunities. What is a threat? A threat, I would say, is not from a direct competition. With the competition, you have a competition. In the GTA, you are in a direct competition with them. The threat is from the company like Coursera or Khan Academy or MIT OpenCourseWare, where people have an opportunity to go in and get the learning that they want. Watching some videos or taking some individual courses, they can get what they want, right? So those, I would say, would be the threats. Courses, as I mentioned earlier, we have a good faculty, we have probably money sitting in the bank, good infrastructure, especially in the GTA region. Those be the resources. If we look at the market, I would say the market is expanding. Especially the international students, a lot of international students are coming to Canada. So from that perspective, it is an expanding market. It is not a contracting market. And you have to be disciplined about the services that you are offering in the market. So Humber College is, very clear that they are not a medical school, even though they do offer some courses related with medical, there are some nursing courses available, but it is not a medical school. They do not train doctors, so they are very clear about that. Not a pure engineering institutes where thing that you see is an engineering, but it's more of an applied technology than a research-based institute, right? So very clear about where they stand and what kind of the services they are offering in the market. I think that you have to be a little bit more sensitive to is that are we providing technology or are we providing the services? So you're not in the business of a technology until and unless technology is your business, right? Business if you are Google. Technology is your business if you are Oracle. Technology is your business if you are Microsoft, because that's the whole business. They come up with a new technology day in, day out. It's a business. But other businesses, they rely upon the technology to run their businesses. So the goal of the organization should be to add the core services and to the help of technology in expanding those services, right? But fall into this kind of a fallacy that technology is their business because they are heavily reliant upon technology to get the things done. So careful that you don't fall into that kind of see. And here we used an example where if you go to a car mechanic and you have to get a couple of things done. Let's say that you need to get the oil change, you need to get the brake changed, and you need to get your car painted as well. And car mechanic at the end of the day gives you 3 different bills. They're gonna say, I like it. Give me one bill. That bill, what is the cost for oil change? What is the cost for brake repair? And the cost to paint my car, and what is the labor? What are the taxes? What is the warranty? What is the guarantee? And then give me one consolidated bill. So that is how an integrated view should be there. But in reality, you might have seen in your experiences, when the business needs to talk, they don't know who to talk with. Whether it's the application team that they should engage, whether it's a database team that they should engage, whether it's a network team that they should engage. Sometimes they are lost in that confusion that the IT presents to them. It should be that we should provide a one seamless integrated view to the business, so it is much easier for them to interact with us. Right. Similarly, I have another example of a GE, which is my favorite companies, but you can replace it with any other company who has an international operations. Let it be the banks, let it be your insurance companies, let it be the airlines or any other, maybe the hotel industry which has an international presence. The point I'm trying to make over here is that these companies operates in the different parts of the world. They have to follow the law of the land of a particular country, and that becomes, from an IT perspective, your options becomes very complex. As an example, let's say you're a bank and you are working in, let's say, only US and Canada. But application that opens checking account in Canada might not be applicable in US because of the different laws or the way their systems work over there. So that adds another layer of a complexity into environment. So you have to be careful about that one. Service characteristics, coming back to value. We have talked about the value earlier. Value defined by the customer. We know this thing very clearly. It has to be cost justifiable. It has needs and objectives of your customers, and value changes over time. A couple of times, but I'll go it over very quickly again. Customer is the one who is defining the value You are offering a service, but what is the real value of that service will be defined by the customer. And value, to my mind, is a perception of services, of the benefits that they have realized by consuming your service. That is what about. And again, if the product or the services that you're offering is too expensive or too complex to use, then probably it's not fully justifiable to the person who actually wants to consume these things. And needs and objectives of the people, and as seen earlier, the value does change over time. Right? When you value, a couple of things that you can think about or brainstorm. First one is to start with the why. Why am I doing what I am doing? Because until and unless you're not clear about that why, you might not be able to sit for very long in the business. By the way, a very good book. The name Start With Why. If you get a chance to read it, if you like reading, I recommend this book by Simon Sinek. Take a case of a Humber College, and I'm just going to make up something. Let's say that we believe that an educated society is a progressive society. We believe that an educated society produces responsible citizens. We believe that an educated society lives with integrity and in harmony, right? And we are in a business of providing education, so we believe that by providing education, we are at the end of the day helping in a nation building. We are helping in building a society which is just, which is social, which believes in integrity and compassion. So if that why is clear, will operate differently. But I believe that I need to explore people because they want something, and I have a rare offering to offer. Then that why is not going to last for a very long period of time, because the moment somebody finds an alternative or a replacement for your service, and they will definitely find a cheaper alternative or a better alternative in the due course of the time, then people will get turned away from you for sure. And questions we have touched upon earlier: what services do we provide, what the value that we provide, what is the cost, or what is the price point at which we are providing these services. So that you can think about. Note over here that this slide is a wrong slide. Number 5, slide number 9 is a wrong slide. It is saying over here is that the utility is fitness for use. It is not the case. Utility is basically fitness for purpose, right? So warranty and utility got swapped in this slide. Utility is basically fitness for purpose, whereas warranty is your fitness for use. Okay. Something earlier, and this slide is coming back.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Regarding the services in Humber College, if we think about expanding the services like certificates, get additional certificate for our students because they are the value you improve or incoming improve for the future, instead of thinking to go to outer colleges or other to get certificate. This is one of my, if it's reasonable.
You can definitely expand your services, right? Companies have done it so I'll give you an example of a Rogers. How many of you have a plan from Rogers? But if you have a plan from Rogers, they will try to sell you an insurance or something like that, where they will say $14 a month if you plus $14 a month. Then if your device is stolen, we will make sure that we will give you the device back. We will give you a new device or the same device, and also protect data, something like that. But basically the point is they are expanding their services to wherever they can expand. Their services, telecommunication, they sell you the handset, they sell you the plan, but now also selling you the insurance that if your handset gets broken or it is stolen, or if you lose it somewhere, you can buy our insurance policy and we can provide you with a new device. Similarly, what you are saying is it's a good thought. We can expand into those directions because we are already educational services, and what you said is just an extension of what we're doing, so it's very much doable. Again, we're on to the next one. Enabling services, enhancing services, and service package. These are of various kinds, and 4 names that we give to the services, and I'll explain this concept by using an example. Let's say that I print command. I'm in a Humber College on one of the computers in the lab. So, and the printer will print a paper, and the printer is on the side of the hallway. So it print whatever I have requested it to print. Service that I'm using over here is a print service, right? That print command that I have given, I'm using a print service. But the print service cannot work if there is no wireless service. From my computer to the printer is not going to work if there is wireless or a wireline connection. If that connection is not there, then core service cannot exist. So that is what is the difference between what is a core service and what is enabling services. A core service cannot exist without the enabling service. Enabling service is basically an icing on the cake, and enhancing service could be a double-side print. Or get a message that your print job will be ready in 20 minutes on printer number this and tray number 3. That is an enhancing service, and when you put together everything, you are offering to the customers is a service package. Example, again coming back to the Humber College. The core service is the post-secondary education that we provide. The enabling service is all technology that we are using is an enabling service. Imagine we don't have a wireless connections. Imagine we don't have a blackboard. Imagine we don't have so then our lesson for today wouldn't have been possible without the support of all these enabled services, right? If these services go down, then the core service will not exist. It becomes very, very difficult, if not impossible, to keep on running with the core service when the enabling services is not there. Enhancing services could be your career counseling, it could be the industry visits, it could be some other kind of offerings that I'm including as a part of your I'll give you a training on the cultural sensitivities. I'll give you the training on the various cultures within the world, right? And put them together and it becomes a package for you, and then you can go and subscribe to that package, which in our terms is going to be the course. So that's the difference between core, enabling, enhancing. So when you put them together, what you are basically creating is a service package. Discussion question. Think of institute that you are or have been a part of. List at least one example each of a core, enabling, and enhancing service. Providing for your answers. So why you believe this right thing. Any so let's just move on then. So strategy is define the market. You look at the market and you look at whether this is an expanding market or whether this is a contracting market. There are some tools that you can use. SWOT is one tool. Porter Forces is another tool. PEST is another tool. PEST is not mentioned here, but PEST is another strategy level tool that you can basically to evaluate the market. Some of the markets are expanding, some of the markets are contracting. If bank is an example, the retail channel is basically it's not growing at the same pace at which the digital channel is growing. I mean to say is the number of the transactions in the branches are the same, or very marginally, or they're increasing. Right? There's not a huge growth in that particular side of the business. So if you are a bank, you will be very, very cautious about opening a new branch because consumer trend is changing. Consuming more and more of the content either on internet or on their mobile devices. So the number of the digital transactions for the bank is growing at a very, very fast pace. You have to look at the market, whether it's an expanding market, contracting market, sit that the customers value in that market, right? Or to create a new market in and of itself. I have a deep respect for Steve Jobs. He came up with a nice, novel idea of coming up with a device which is in between a desktop and a laptop, and we call it iPad. He launched iPad. He also launched a market, and I don't know whether it was an iPad or iPhone which was launched earlier, but essentially the concept of education was a very novel idea, was very innovative idea, and he was able to create a market, between the domains of a desktop and the domains of a laptop. And then matched up to this thing, and they started with their Android market as well. So that's what you can do. You can start your own market if there is none existing. And what you have to then do is develop the offering. What kind of a services I want to offer in this market. What does the service look like? So you have to start thinking about all those things. And once you have thought about providing those services, you have a good idea, you got the right approvals from the people who need to approve your services. Then you need to do is you need to start deploying your strategic assets, which means that now you're taking your money, now you're taking your resources, now you're taking your infrastructure, now you're putting everything together to build your services and to market your services. And phase is basically the execution phase. This is where you are actually offering the services in the market, and you offer those services in the market. Of course, you're going to get some feedback from the customers. You have to act on that feedback. You have to have the right kind of the mechanisms in place, or the feedback loops in the place, so that when you receive the feedback, it can flow to the to destination and the right action can be taken based on that feedback. Right? Okay, let's take a 5-minute break and we will come back at 6:45 and then we will jump onto this module. In what I'm going to do is I'm going to upload an assignment for you. I'm just screen over here for a moment. I'm going to act for a second. I disconnect in the sense that not share my screen with you, but we'll still be here. So we'll come back at 6:05. Get started again. I have turned on the recording again on my screen. So on to the next module and talk about assignment as well. Okay, so what are the processes within a service strategy? First process is a service portfolio management process, and what is a service portfolio? The question is of a service portfolio, and the service portfolio basically includes three things. It's a list of all the services that you used to provide in the past, that you are providing today, and that you will be providing in the future. So it's a past, present, and future, all the services included, and this is what the service portfolio is all about. Services that you are going to provide in future, these services are called the services in pipeline, or it's called a pipeline, right? It's called a service pipeline sometimes. Telling your customer is that this service is not available today. At a certain point in future, this service will be available to you. Again, example of a Humber course where, let's say that they are starting a course in 2018 and start advertising about the course right now. They say, this course will be available in winter 2018 or fall 2018 or summer 2018, whatever the case might be. But they start the advertisement, the marketing of the service or the course in this is right now. So it will be considered as a part of a pipeline. They're not currently offered, but this will be offered sometime in future. Part is service catalog. These are all your operational services. These are the services that the customers can use right now. They are available to the customers today. And we have the retired services as well. And you have to maintain the retired services because of the law sometimes, or because there are some other customers who are still on this service, haven't graduated to the other services. I can give you my personal example. The cell phone plan that I have from Fido is not currently offered anymore. I'm on their retired service. I am the customer on their retired services. The service is not actively, or this plan is not actively offered to the new consumers anymore. So you get it by going to their website. Services. So that's a service portfolio. And the goal of the service portfolio is to, look at what resources do I have, what capabilities do I have, and to create a healthy balance between the future investments and the investments in the present services, and the investments in the areas where you need to maintain your existing services. So that's the goal of a service portfolio management, that, where do I invest my resources. And goal is basically to generate the maximum return for the organization, keeping the risks acceptable level. The risks have to be kept at an acceptable level. It's almost impossible to eliminate the risks. So there are some industries where we have a high risk tolerance. By higher risk tolerance means that I'm in the ice cream shop and you order an ice cream and I gave the wrong one, right? You tell me again, this is not the ice cream that I ordered, and very quickly give you the new one. There is not much of a damage that can happen there. Of course, the customer experience would be ruined, but I can still give you, maybe I'll say, this ice cream is complimentary, this is free for you because I made a mistake. Hope that will, cool down your nerves a little bit. But there are some industries where risk tolerance is very low. That's one kind of an industry, you cannot expect that, okay, let's say that I'm transferring money from your account, my account to your account, and it ends up in somebody else's account. You will be upset, I will be upset, and the person who is getting the money might be happy, but eventually they will have to return it. Right? The risk tolerance in that kind of work is quite low. The risk tolerance in the medical industry is very, very low because the consequences are very, very serious. There are some industries which are by definition a risky business. For example, launching a satellite into a space is quite a risky business. It's either a pass or it's either a fail. There is no in between. It's quite black and white. If the rocket lifted well and if your satellite is placed into the right orbit, the satellite is functioning well, this is success. If there's a problem with the rocket or problem with the launch and you have to abort the launch, then there's a lot of money that is at stake. There's a lot of resources. The time that you have spent is on stake. But how the nature of the business is, right? No other way, at least right now, launch the satellites in the space other than to put them onto the rocket and launch that rocket, and that's a complex process in itself, right? Goes to have a look at your investments. Where do I need to make any investments, and how do I manage the risk? And the last, basically, I have talked about it basically to get the maximum return on the investment that's the goal of the service portfolio management. So we talked about it, the services that will be offered into future called a service pipeline. Microsoft usually does a very good job with this thing. They will release their product in a beta version. They'll say this is a beta version of the product. This is not the final product. We need you to play with it, and we are you to test this product. This way, they are able to get feedback from the customers very quickly without damaging the reputation of the company or reputation of the product, because they have already said that this is a beta version. This is not a complete version. Based upon the feedback that they have received from this community, which is very enthusiastic to use the new products, what Microsoft then does is, take in the feedback, incorporate that feedback, and release a much more refined product into the market. Right? That's just taking advantage of your service pipeline. They do that. They launch a cell phone and they will say, okay, now the price from today, cell phone is not available right now in your country. It will be available in 2 weeks, 3 weeks from the launch date, but we are taking in the pre-orders. If you order now, you get it from maybe for a discount. If they will offer any discount or not. Again, making the use of the service pipeline to generate those revenues up early, generate some excitement about the services. Which is basically a catalog of services we are offering. It's good of a restaurant menu or a college catalog. Write down all the services that you're currently offering. Also list how customers can order that service, what is going to be the price point for that service, will be included in that service. So all those things are part of your service catalog. And the last one is the retired services. These are not only marketed to the general public. This might be as an internal part of your portfolio, but something which is not going to be to very easily, right? So in terms of a process, what is the process, right? It's through a couple of the phases. The first one is the define phase, where you define the services, you list down all the services that you think you can provide in the market. So you don't look at any kind of a constraints. It's open forum. You let imagination run wild. Is that you can think of what does make sense. List down those as a potential candidate that be offered into the market. But then what you do is you become a little bit more rational. You start analyzing your services. You start analyzing the market a little. You do kind of a cost-benefit analysis, and then you will say, out of these 10 services that I'm thinking about, only 3 makes the cut for the cost-benefit analysis. The other one are either too expensive or they don't kind of the value that our customers will appreciate. So you then fold them down, and you will start developing the 3 services that make sense. But before you start developing those services, you basically have to take them to an approving body. It's a top level of people in the organization who are the approvers of the service, or this service portfolio for that matter. If the investment it looks good, then yes, we are on board. Please go ahead and start developing the service and launch the service. If not, then they will say, okay, you know what, this does not make sense. This was a good business case, but this is not the great business case. So you might go back and improve your business case, right? Business case is approved. What you do is that you will charter that service, which means that downstream processes like designing the services and other processes can be kicked off now. Those processes will be rolled out, and at the point when the service basically becomes a part of the charter, that's when you can start advertising. If before this point, then you run a risk that will not be offered to the market, and you might be making some false promises to the consumers, right? Make sure that we are recording well. Of course, the recording is good. Okay, next process is the demand management, and the goal of the demand management is to basically look at how the demand is varying, and demand can vary either on a daily basis or it can vary on a weekly basis, and sometimes the demand varies on a yearly basis. But there are certain factors that might end up, affecting the demand. If there is any kind of a political activity going on, if there's any kind of a supporting activity going on, or if there's any kind of a musical activity going on, that tends to affect the demand of certain kind of a services. Well, there is a musical festival happening in Toronto, then the demand for, maybe the hotels or those kinds of services might go up in Toronto, but it's going to have any effect nationally. It's not going to have any effect on the hotel industry in Ottawa, hotel industry in Calgary, because festivals are not going on there. To look at, what are the factors which are influencing the demand and how the demand is fluctuating and evolving over time. If demand for the utilities can go up upon two factors. One is the utilization rate. Utilization rate is daytime. These are open and they are using the utilities as at the same time households are also consuming some part of the utilities, right? So that means the demand for the utilities goes up during that a lot, but most of the businesses are open for 8 to 10 hours a day, sometimes 12 hours a day, but for other 10, 12, 14 hours a day, these businesses shut down and there is no demand for the services anymore. So one kind of a variation. Second variation that the utilities in particular can see is the change in weather conditions. If there is an extreme weather, whether it's extreme cold or whether it's extreme heat, and then see that the utilities consumption goes up, especially the hydro. If it's a hot summer afternoon and the temperature just goes up, be using more of your air conditioning. That means more pressure on the hydro. If it becomes much colder in the winter season, then you will be using your furnace a little bit more than usual. That's more pressure on the hydro and more pressure on the natural gas because my furnace is burning a lot of natural gas, right? So things influence your demand, and you have to look at what kind of a demand it is and how the demand is fluctuating. Is it fluctuating on a day basis or a week basis? And again, underlying factors that are affecting the demand. And goal of demand management is basically to take information of how demand is fluctuating and pass on the information to the side so that they can get prepared for it. The example on this slide is not correct. I believe they have stopped this practice many years ago, but it's a time, I believe, when Walmart used to suspend their services during the Christmas season because they want to focus a lot on serving the demand, delivering the customers Christmas season for the goods and services goes up quite a lot. The companies want to focus all their resources on the selling part versus the returns and the exchanges part, but I don't think this is applicable anymore, so please disregard this thing. But the goal is basically to meet that demand in a cost-effective manner. So one thing we can say is that if the companies knows that the demand is going to go up, especially the utilities, then won't they build a capacity? Or yes, we have seen if we deal with the telecommunication companies, you go out and buy a plan. Entry-level plans will give you a lesser number of data minutes versus a much higher priced plan. And what basically the companies are trying to do is they are trying to shift your demand from high peak time to the gate time, right? To is try to maintain a healthy balance between the peak time demand and the demand that they can actually serve by building the right capacity. If they build the capacity based upon the peak hour demand, then that peak hour demand is going to remain there for a couple of hours only. But for the other time of the day or other time of the night, the capacity is sitting idle and the business are not generating any return on that investment. So that's why they tend to shift consumption of the services from peak time frame to the non-peak. That's why your cell phone plans or your utility rates are much higher when in the day, and they are much lesser during the night. And this is what we call is differential pricing. We try to manage the demand by using a mechanism called differential pricing, which is basically charging a different rate for the same service depending upon the time of the day when you're consuming the service. So your hydro during the day is worse than the hydro that you will get during the night. The quality of the electricity that you're getting during the day and during the night is going to be the same. So why is it that your hydro company is charging you more during the day, during the night for the same amount of consumption? Basically, very clear that they cannot build the capacity and they want you to move your demand from peak period to the off-peak period. But then the demand, which is a permanent demand, the demand that is not going to go away, the demand that is consistently, and there is a pattern in demand, and we call it patterns of business activity. Let's take an example of Canada as a country. Allow about 250 to 300,000 people to come in every single year and become the permanent residents of Canada. So that is the demand that is not going to go away. Maybe 1% of the 2% of the people who come into Canada goes back to their respective countries, but most of them are going to stay here and raise their families here and live for their life in Canada. So clearly we know what kind of roads we need, what kind of an infrastructure do we need, what kind of schools do we need, what kind of hospitals do we need. Demand is not a variable demand. That is a very steady demand, and you have to build a capacity for that one, because in that case capacity is not going to remain high. So permanent patterns of business activity that we look at. Last process in the service strategy is the financial management, and as the name indicates, it at the judicious or the wise use of your financial resources. It cares about that you are using your financial resources in such a way that you are maximizing the returns for your organization. And some of the key terms that you need to know management is accounting. Accounting basically tracks money. When an organization, there are expenses, and you need to understand that how money I'm spending on what kind of activities, right? and activity-based costing, by the way. So you need to understand how much I'm paying to employees, how much is paying to the utility companies, how much is my procurement cost, how much is other costs, so on and so forth. Understand that, right? And if you have that idea, then it will help you to build your chargeback model. If you have a good understanding of where your costs are, then maybe you can do some cost-cutting initiatives as well. It helps you to build a chargeback model, which we will just talk about in a quick second. So then is budgeting and forecasting. So budgeting is basically allocating money for a particular cause or a particular purpose, right? So say that you are renovating your home, you can say that the budget I have is for painting the house, this much is for the repairs, this much is for my new furniture, so on and so forth. So you basically create a different buckets of money, label them, and you call it a budget, right? And the budgets are typically developed based on the forecast, and the forecasts will come from analyzing your demand. So now you see, all these processes are trying to build an relationship with each other. They're not the isolated processes. They don't exist in isolation. The forecasting will tell you, what is it that you're looking at, how many new customers can come in, or where is your market going, or what kind of a demand for your services, right? And then you will budget the money accordingly. And thing is basically this is where you will put your chargeback model into place. This is where you're going to say, okay, this is how much it is costing me to run business. This is how much it is costing me to assist to the customers, and I need to recover my money because I'm a profitable enterprise. So you will have different kinds of chargeback models. Take the example of a cell phone companies. At the we have a pay-per-use model. Pay as you use. You don't pay if you don't use. But then the cost per call, or the cost per minute, or the cost per second is going to be quite high. But the other very end of that spectrum is what you find is an unlimited plans. For X amount of dollars that you pay them every month, can get an unlimited data, unlimited calling, unlimited text, unlimited internet usage, so on and so forth, right? So you have to see what kind of a chargeback models it to work for you in your organization, right? Based on how I am going to recover my money, right? As we have seen some change in the trends, people are moving more from a product-based organizations to the service-based organizations. Microsoft is a classic example. They have Microsoft Office both as a product as well as a service. Office 365 is a service, as a product is a product in itself. That's how you have to think about chargeback model. I can give you another example. The Humber College comes up with a new formula, and they can tell you, what dollars you can take any number of courses in the next 5 years, right? So, but that amount is quite a substantial amount. Let's say that you're paying $10 today for the whole course, as an example. They will, for $13 or for $15, you can get as many courses as you want in the next 5 years. But you're not paying 10, but you're paying 15. So that means college is getting more out of you but then at the same time, it is also giving you an opportunity to get more out of the college as well. It's the same thing as unlimited data, right? The companies charge you more, you get unlimited amount of data, unlimited amount of calling, did other services, but you end up paying more. Do you end up actually consuming an unlimited amount of data? I don't know. Do you end up making an unlimited amount of the calls? I don't know. Right? But then you can offer it as one of the chargeback models. Of the financial management is a cost classification, which is direct versus indirect, and then capital operational. So direct cost is the one that you can pinpoint to really clearly and say that, this is a cost for that particular item. If you have bought a new server, a new router, and cable, you can very well point to that and say, okay, this is how much it costs me. But there are some indirect costs as well. Indirect costs are your wages, your lawyer fees, your taxes, your utility bills. All these are part of your indirect costs, and it's difficult to pinpoint how much of the indirect cost basically is consumed by, let's say, one server, right? And the other kind of a cost classification is capital versus operational. Sometimes we call it CapEx and OpEx as well. So capital cost is the amount that you spend on an asset that will last for more than 1 year. And the year over here is usually a calendar year, right? So if making the capital investments, then there are some provisions in the tax law that you can depreciate those assets, your capital assets, and you can reduce your tax liability by using depreciation as one of the tools available to you to reduce your outstanding taxes, right? Typically, these assets have to last more than 1 year. Operating cost, as I mentioned earlier, is your cost. It's your utilities, it's your wages, it's your lawyers, it's your taxes, all those things combined, your operational cost. One categories that you have to think, especially if you're in Canada, is called SRED. S-R-E-D. It's research, I think, education and development. And CRA basically gives you some kind of a tax discount if you are working on something that qualifies under the SRED guidelines. Now, I remember the guidelines, but if you're doing any kind of a scientific research and spending money on that research, this money could be classified as an operational. There might be a possibility that you can go to the ERA and say, you know what, I have a business case that our tax liabilities should be reduced, right? And the last part of the service strategy is your business relationship management. And this relationship management basically acts as a bridge between IT and business. So understands the needs and the urgency of the business. It passes on the demand and the drivers of the demand to IT, so that IT can get prepared about the demand or the fluctuations in the demand, and also passes on other information from a business side to the IT side. So IT is getting prepared and it's aligned with the needs of the business, so they can get ready. Business needs them. On the hand, it is also, it also acts as an advocate for IT on the business side. So they take what is happening in the IT world, or the challenges in the IT world are, the developments in the IT world, and then they will share those things with the business, so that the business is aware of what is happening in the IT world. If you're working on a project, there's a high-pitched conversation that starts to happen. The goal of business management is to make sure that there are proper channels of escalations available so that people, rather than pointing fingers at each other, can make use of those channels and can communicate and get a resolution to their issue or whatever is bothering them. And if there is an urgency that needs to be expressed, then there is a proper mechanism and there is a proper channel through which they can go in and express that urgency. Either business is expressing that urgency to the IT or is expressing that urgency to the business, right? There are a couple of pop quizzes. You can do it on your own. And quickly recapping what we have covered today as service portfolio management, demand management, financial management, and business relationship management. I'm going to check the chat. If there are any questions on the chat. If you have any questions, please fire them right now. 1 and 2 from the group discussion board, I can't find them. Yes, Adnan, they expire after a week or so of posting. Post them, I will send out a communication, and those will remain active for a week. After a week, those are not available anymore. So, what are your other questions? Well, let me bring the assignment for you. If you have everything you need, I don't know how the assignment is going to show up for you, but click on the assignment. Sorry, it should be somewhere down here. This is the assignment. Basically, I have it over here. Again, the assignment is basically a figment of my imagination. This is something that I'm thinking. Mind, I don't know if these things are happening at Humber College or not. But I have created a scenario for you, and the scenario is, Humber College Primary, post-secondary education. In the recent years, they have started offering advanced level courses in technology and nursing and paramedics and so on and so forth. Top management feels that they can enter into the executive education market. Education for purposes is defined as an on-job training taken to boost up the skills and the people who are already working. So the Humber College management, as an example, might be thinking is, you know what, great faculty, we can maybe use services of the faculty to expand our services. It's like some of, one of you mentioned in the today that, maybe we can offer the certificates, but I'm going into a little bit different direction. But again, it's the concept of the services. Entering into the executive education market, and the executive education is basically people already have a job, they want to improve their skill sets. So what are services that we can provide to them, right? And we can provide them with the courses, and that's what the question is all about. What should be the strategy while entering into the executive education market? So you can say that, we have a very good teach on the nursing side. They have a very good processes and procedures. We go to the hospitals and retrain the nurses, right? That could be your, target offering, so to say, which is your second question. But then the question is, are you going to target all the hospitals at once, or are you going to target hospitals only in the GTA first? And what is going to be your chargeback model? Are you going to charge based upon training one nurse or a group of nurses, or are you going to send your people into hospitals and train them there, or are you going to bring these nurses into the Humber College and you're going to train them there? So there will be the various ways in which you can build up your assignment and think about the chargeback model. This is basically how you're going to recover money for the services that you are offering. Then individual assignment, write your name and student ID at the top of the first page so that I know who is submitting it. Should not be more than 3 pages. I think 3 pages is more than enough. I am not interested in reading any novels. And you have to submit this electronically, even if you feel like doing it by hand. After doing it by hand, please scan it and send it to me. As long as I can read your handwriting, we are good. Scan your handwriting and send it to me. Any questions regarding the assignment or what we have covered so far? No. I'm good with the assignment. Is a week from now, so which is, I believe, 13th of October.
Excuse me?
Yeah. Can you speak a little bit louder?
No, it's good. Because I sent your email. I'm of speaking to him on all master students about changing a schedule for this class.
So you have sent me a mail, but unfortunately we cannot change the schedule because my weekends are quite busy. I am on the board of directors of 2 organizations, and one of them actually meets on Sundays. So even I do have some volunteer work to do on Saturdays. If we could have discussed it at the start of the course, then well, unfortunately, at the time we will have to live with this time frame.
Not discuss later.
Most of the course, it's going to remain the same.
So difficult for Saturday. Have suffer a lot for
So
students always arrive late
so arrive late where?
Yeah, on Saturday we have any time. So our online classes is only Saturday. Because 2 classes Saturday and no any time to arrive. Saturday, well, 7 students arrive late when the third class arrive about 3.
Arrive late on Saturday because of you.
About all students. On behalf of my students, they told me.
True, I'm talking to the whole class, not especially you. When I say you, I mean the whole class. So the class arrives late on Saturday because they have a 6 to 8 class.
Saying is basically on Saturday we have an online class in the morning. It ends at noon, 12:30, and on-campus class that starts at 2:30.
Yeah.
So between 30 and 2:30, people find that's not enough time to make it from home to college. They thought to cram online classes on Saturday so they don't have to leave home, and we take the campus class to Friday, which is what we always do. We always go to school at 6 every day, and we put both of the online classes on Saturday so we don't have to leave home.
Okay, so you want to swap my class with other class so that you have the other class on Friday and then classes on Saturday? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, exactly. 2 online classes on Saturday. We don't have to leave class.
So one
We
online
have
class.
time from 1 p.m. or any time after 1 p.m. We are available. But big difficult problem as here now. We start Linux from 8 at 20, then 2:30 p.m. So many students are late and tired. So we only online classes on Saturday, so we can manage our time after 1 p.m. and time late, not maybe 6, 7, 8, 4 time. That's on Saturday. That's
I have to look into my schedule, and I also have to talk with the professor. I can tell you very honestly, the play of this thing happening is quite low. But try to help you as much as I can.
That's all we need. You
But-
do-
need this favor from you. Yeah.
if you can help, then it's perfect. It's good. If you can't, then
But
yeah.
I can't guarantee, and if it is going to happen, and it might happen early on Saturday. I mean AM kind of a thing. Keep the rest of my Saturday open for my other activities. I cannot have it in the middle of the day with my family time as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I already have a class in the morning, so I don't think that will work.
Then I want to have a class from, let's say, 8 to 10 in the morning. I'm done with my classes, and I have the rest of the day to spend with the family.
Yeah.
Right? So that's how I'm thinking. If possible.
Also the coordinator, if that Linux afternoon, no problem. Our problem only we need to
But you have to
online
think,
classes at the same time.
No, you have-
difficult for us to move. The transportation is difficult.
thing is you have to think about me as well, because I cannot have a class in the middle of the day. I cannot tell my family that I'm not available to you on say, because we cannot plan to go out or anything.
True. No, yeah, true.
Right? And the same for the Saturday evening as well. That's the only time that you can, not sleep on your sleeping time. If anything, that can happen. If anything, to discuss, and it gets moved, it's going to move to early Saturday morning if that works for you.
It's okay. It's okay if it moves to Saturday morning, but still, since we have a class we have a class of Linux on Saturday morning. If you could discuss it with the course coordinator, hopefully he will speak to our Linux instructor. If you could manage, if he could swap, your class comes in the morning on Saturday, and our Linux class go further ahead, starts from 11 or from 12. That's here with us. We just want to have both online classes on the same day. Our class starts at 8 and it finished by 12:30, and then we have to rush towards on-campus class at 2:30. Most of the guys, they are not near to the college, so it's difficult for them, to manage. And we normally, when our on-campus class starts on Saturday, a majority of the guys, they just reach the class starts by 2:30, and most of them they just reach by 3 or 3:30.
Okay.
So that's the idea behind it. Yeah.
I got it. So I also write him a mail. I suggest that you also reach out to him. But then there will be some Saturdays, one Saturday in a month, where I have to attend a board meeting. In that meeting is starts from 9 a.m. I believe. In that case, we will have to have an early Saturday class.
That's okay. It's okay. We can manage that. That's what we can we can do. We can do it together. That's not a problem.
So that means we might have to start 7 a.m. in the morning for a class, I'm okay with that one, right?
If it is once a month, it's okay. We'll manage it. No problem.
Yeah, it's once a month.
Yeah.
We speak about difficult situations. This is such a
Thank you.
Yeah, so I understand the whole class is on board with this thing. I'll write Preetham an email that this is what they are suggesting. If your other instructor also agrees to delay their class or swap the class, then I can suggest 8 a.m. Saturday mornings as our last time.
You can speak with the next teacher tomorrow, and
Yeah.
we can start from 8 a.m. IT services. From
Yeah, we can, if we
8 a.m. to 12.
have this class from, so it is class from 8 to 10, and then you can have your Linux class from maybe afterwards, right?
Maybe tomorrow you can also.
So I will write Preetham an email that this is the request that is coming from the students. Happy to help you as much as I can.
We need paper from you.
Okay. Any other question? No? Okay, then I will see you next week virtually, and then maybe a week after we can have our midterm exam. So get into that mindset that 2 weeks from now we are looking at our midterm exam.
All right.
Okay, guys, take care and have a Thanksgiving to all who are celebrating, and an extra holiday to of people. Okay?
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Good night.